horror fans. My name is Chris, and I am your friendly neighborhood Baba Duchess, and I'm looking for a fight. Okay, I'm not really looking for a fight, but I had what I thought was an interesting idea for this video when I was watching the last episode of The Last Drive-In. To kick off the show, Joe Bob had a list of 10 things that will start a fight in any horror circle. These are things that people have hot takes on or really not hot takes on. So I just thought it would be fun to look at some of these arguments that horror fans can get into, let you know how I feel about these subjects that Joe Bob brought up, and just have some fun. Because at the end of the day, we all have our opinions, and they are all valid. And when horror fans generally get into conversations, we're just having fun. You know, that is the fun of being a horror fan, because it is such a big genre, and there's all these other subgenres, and we all have the directors and the actors that we like that have worked in the genre, and it is fun to discuss. And if someone has, an opposite take of what you have, usually there is just some kind of like fake arguing, but it's all done in fun. And that's what this video is. You know my thing, like what you like, don't be a dick. I really do believe that. I'm never going to try to, yuck someone's yum just because they have a different take than I do. That's just silly. I mean, there's no such thing as a guilty pleasure. Again, like what you like. And why does it matter if someone has a different opinion than you on something? A lot of the times that makes for great conversations. Case in point, my husband, he's really not a horror fan. He likes some, but for the most part, it's really just not his thing. But we have very, very different views on the Blair Witch Project. He absolutely hated it. For me, it's like one of my favorite movies. And we have fun picking on each other when it'll randomly pop into a conversation somewhere. And I think that's what a lot of discussions between horror fans are. We're just expressing our love for something that just has so many different offerings. So number 10 on the list is Jaws is not a horror movie. And the funny thing about this one is that I used to feel very strongly about this. I worked in a video store for a long time, many, many years ago. And I actually had very strong opinions about the fact that the first Jaws movie did not belong in the horror section. Like the other ones, yes, because they are very much done in that style, like a slasher, except it's a shark instead of a guy with a knife. For some reason, I just felt very strongly that Jaws should be in like the action adventure section. It just didn't occur to me for whatever reason that it wasn't a horror movie. And I don't know if it's because I got into horror later in my life and I grew up watching Jaws, so I just already had it firmly lodged in my brain as to what kind of movie it was. So yeah, I was absolutely on this train. I did not think it was a horror movie. And then here we are years later where I agree with Joe Bob now that it is a horror movie. I mean, it's a creature feature. It's this shark eating people. But there was a time when I was on that side, and not seriously, but I would argue someone down about that. I've seen the error of my ways. It is a horror movie.
Here's to swimming with bow-legged women.
Number 9 is Hereditary and Midsommar are real horror movies. Okay. I love Hereditary. I love Midsommar. I love most of what A24 has put out for horror. But I love all kinds of horror. Again, that's the fun in it, because we have so many different types. It's just a different kind of horror. And if it doesn't work for you, that's okay. So yeah, I really, really have a hard time with the snobbery surrounding a lot of these movies. And these are movies that I love. But, as horror fans, we get a lot, you get the side eye or the, why you like those kinds of movies. We don't need it within our own community. And that's what a lot of people who just hold up these A24 movies so highly, it's almost like they want to pretend that they're not even horror. And that's just stupid. They're horror movies, and there are all different kinds. And if you don't like those or you do like these, that's fine. Because the beauty of horror is that there's no one way to do it. There are lots of ways to do it. And then you have people coming in to, police what makes something a horror movie and what doesn't. No. So just please, please stop with this snobbery. And that's what really rubs me the wrong way when people talk about, oh, but this is so much better. They start bringing out the term elevated horror, which I absolutely cannot stand.
I hate that. I hate it!
No, horror is horror. Different ways to do it. One's not better than the other. And I will let Joe Bob have the last word about elevated horror.
Go ahead.
Elevated horror is a term used by people who hate horror to describe horror films that they like.
Number 8 is the remake is better. And I know horror fans can get really heated about this subject. Now, I generally don't find remakes to be better.
Boo!
But again, it's not always the case. So there really isn't a hard and fast rule. I mean, I might throw down my case for why a certain remake is not better than the original, but you can't say that that's always the case or never the case. You're probably going to take away my horror fan card, but I actually like the remake of Dawn of the Dead better than the original Dawn of the Dead, and I know that's like heresy. However, I did not think that the Texas Chainsaw remake was better than the original. However, I did enjoy it a lot. Actually, another one I liked better than the original was The Crazies. I wasn't really crazy about the original George Romero film. It is worth a watch. Again, just like the remake better. I think it's just because I hate these hard and fast rules that people try to have when it's all dependent movie by movie. Number 7 is gore not required. I love gore, but I also like movies where you don't see as much. It's all in how you tell a story. You look at something like The Thing, where John Carpenter just went balls out. You saw everything, every little bit, and I love the hell out of it. It's one of my favorite movies. But there are also some PG-13 horror that can be effective. I liked the remake of The Ring. I thought it was creepy as hell. It didn't need gore. It almost seems like people want like a gore meter, like you must have this much gore to be a horror movie. And that's just silly. Anytime you try to slap some kind of, quantifiable measure on these things, you lose the fun. We know what scares us. Number 6 is I love found footage, which, okay, for me personally, I do love found footage. But the thing is with me, like, I totally get why people wouldn't. I guess I'm a bad person to have a debate with because unless it's something just completely off the wall, I mean, this is all subjective anyway. But I can totally see why someone would not like found footage. And I will say this as a fan, there is far more bad found footage out there than there is good. It can be hard to do well because, you are limited usually by budget, and there is only so much you can do or so many ways you can tell a story when you are using that style. But I love found footage because when it's done right, it forces the filmmakers to be more creative. This is where what you don't see really has to be able to work and be, effectively disturbing. Because you can't just say, oh, it happened off camera and expect people to engage with it or be scared by it. So again, I get why someone wouldn't like it, but I love it. Number 5, slow burns are better. Again, with the better stuff. I like a slow burn. It doesn't work for some people. They find too much where it's too boring in the first end of it and just isn't worth the wait to get to the third act. I get it. Different people, different audiences want different things from their horror movies. It's why it's a great genre. I personally do love a slow burn, but I do have to be in the mood for a slow burn. I'm not saying I've never watched a movie where the burn was way too slow and just not worth it in the end.
Come on, hurry up.
But it's not about better. It's just about a different way to tell the story. I am a broken record. I'm sorry. Number 4 is with the cheap jump scares. And yeah, I know that's a big hot button issue. And there are times where the jump scares are very cheap and it's just because there isn't much going on in the movie.
Kitty, you scared me.
Jump scares can be used quite effectively, but yes, they can also be overused, or you just get lazy filmmaking and it's like, well, I don't know what to do, so, here's a loud noise. That's a lot of the thing with the jump scares too. I personally think too many of them just rely on there being like a sudden loud noise instead of maybe just like a quick reveal. That I do find to be overused, where it's not even about the scare itself and what's happening on the screen, but more about like this noise that accompanied it. The character is not hearing that music sting. So that I do think is cheap and overused, but not every jump scare is the same. Number 3, CGI sucks. I mean, I'm a practical kind of girl, and I think a lot of horror fans are, because that's where a lot of it started from, was these practical effects. And we've seen people like Tom Savini and Greg Nicotero do just these great things on screen. And with the exception of very few instances, there should never be CGI blood. Unless the blood needs to fall in an unnatural way, or maybe, an actor has an allergy or something like that. If there's some rule that where you can't use it, I get that, but please stop using CGI blood. It never works. But other than that, there are times where death of a unicorn, well, unicorns don't exist, and you're probably not going to use a real horse for this. Did we see a little too much of it in that particular movie? Yeah. But there are some times where you've got to use it, and it is used effectively. I'm not against it. I just think there's a certain way to use it. And some people, I'm looking at you, Andy Machete, or I hope it's because of the budget that you rely on it so much, but it's too much. Number 2, how is it possible? Yeah, this can be a delicate one, because you need that suspension of disbelief for certain things to be happening, especially in horror. But then there's that line where sometimes things go overboard and you're like, okay, that just completely would not work and is just too silly.
He didn't get out of the cock-a-doodie car!
My personal rule is, if I start questioning that, that wouldn't happen, that kind of thing. Once I start questioning that, sometimes that's how I know I'm just not enjoying the movie. Because usually, if I'm really enjoying it, I don't really care, again, unless it's something just so impossible where you cannot suspend any more disbelief. But especially in horror, it's just about, just letting it play out, let the impossible happen, unless it's way too convenient. I think for me, it's more of an issue of like plot convenience than whether or not that would actually happen. Because it's not real life, it's movie logic. And for the most part, movie logic is fun. So if you're doing your job, it won't really matter. And the number one thing that gets people into heated discussions is, actually, he wasn't the first. So when you're talking about, well, we'll bring it back to found footage. Like, yes, we know Blair Witch was not the first. It brought new life into the genre, but yes, it wasn't the first. But when people try to claim, it was this director that did this, and then someone else has to say, oh, but this person back in 1932 did it first and they did it better, and it's things like that. Especially in movie making, in the arts in general, everybody's influenced by everybody else. Some people outright copy, we know that, but that's not what this is about. At this point, it's sometimes hard to even really know who was first. That's the kind of discussion that would be best to have like in fun, where it's almost like a movie trivia game, kind of testing each other's knowledge, learning from each other. Like, oh, I hadn't considered that. It should be used as a learning experience. Not a pissing contest to see who's the bigger fan of what. I don't really have a lot to say about number 1, but I think the overall message that we can take away from all of these points that could potentially cause arguments between horror fans is like what you like and don't be a dick. We all love horror for very different reasons. We all want different things out of horror. I definitely have my favorite subgenres, but other than that, I really like all of it. There isn't anything I would dismiss out of hand. You can give me your snooty movies, and you can also give me some of your schlock. I'm pretty happy anywhere in between. There's enough crap going on out there. Let's just enjoy our horror and let everyone else enjoy what they want to enjoy. I feel like I'm preaching, but I'm really not. I think most of us feel this way. It is what we like about horror. It's what we like about the community. So hopefully you made it this far. I know this was a little more rambly, but I just thought it would be just a fun idea to just kind of piggyback off of something that Joe Bob had discussed. He's a huge reason why I'm even making videos now. Really giving me the courage to sit here in front of a camera, which is something I'm still getting comfortable with. So lots of love to Joe Bob, lots of love to Darcy, and of course, much love to the Mutant fam. I talk to a lot of you online. It's always fun when we have our watch parties like on Blue Sky. It's been a great way to not feel so alone and not so crazy in this, insane times that we're living through right now. Let's be honest, and times have always been insane. Some are just more insane than others. So please like, share, and subscribe. Do all the things. I really appreciate it. Let me know some hot topics that get your hackles raised. Anything you're willing to die on the hill for? I kind of felt like I did a lot of fence sitting in this video, but for the most part, I genuinely just see both sides of it. Maybe because there just isn't a right or wrong way to feel about something so subjective. So have some fun discussions, and I will see you in my next video. In the meantime, like what you like, don't be a dick. I know you're sick of me saying that in this video. And empathy is a superpower.